Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of Good Guys Sports, joined by myself, your host, Blake Gerke, and Jackson Gerke, repping the Turkey Gerke hat, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. Mike Roby and B.O. Lineberger. We got a very exciting Thanksgiving special here on Good Guys Sports. We'll be off next weekend, so we're going to be focusing on some big NFL Thanksgiving matchups and some huge college football rivalry games, Week 14, where things are really going to start taking shape. So it's going to be a really exciting Thanksgiving Day slate, and we're here to bring you all of the action and excitement here on Good Guys Sports. So let's go ahead and start with the Thanksgiving Day games. Obviously, every single year we have the Lions hosting a game, the Cowboys hosting a game. This year, it'll be some pretty exciting matchups, if I do say so myself, with the Green Bay Packers taking a trip to Detroit in that NFC North matchup, and then as well the reeling Kansas City Chiefs traveling to Dallas. Might be a get back or a get right game for the Chiefs there, but Cowboys themselves coming off of a victory on Monday night against the Raiders, and then with the nightcap there on Thursday, we have Cincinnati at Baltimore. So pretty exciting
Yeah.
Thanksgiving Day slate.
And,
Mike, I'll
and
start with
don't
you.
forget
Yeah,
the
go ahead.
Eagles. Don't forget the Bears at Eagles the Friday after Thanksgiving.
Black Friday. Have you fully adjusted to this new Black Friday game? Are you a fan of that scheduling?
Yeah, it's fine. I'll be home. I'm not going to be at the mall.
And you're obviously used to your every so often your Commanders when we take a trip to Dallas for that Thanksgiving Day game.
Yeah, that never goes well. So I'm happy we're not playing on Thanksgiving.
Fair enough, fair enough. So those Thanksgiving Day game, though, Mike, the Lions game,
Hmm.
Cowboys game, and then maybe a night game as well.
Yeah.
It's sort of like a bit of it's a huge tradition on the NFL calendar. Is it one of your favorite NFL football watching days in your personal experience?
Oh yeah. But I miss Madden and the turducken. They need to bring the turducken back.
One of the best traditions, wasn't it, John Madden
Yeah.
giving out the turducken to the player of the game, wasn't it?
So it's going to be a good one. I mean, the Lions and Cowboys always host on Thanksgiving, but seeing the Packers come in, I think I got to go with the Lions on that one.
It's a really interesting game, isn't it? Because that division is competitive as we expected, but the team at top is the Chicago Bears, possibly not who we thought would be on top of that division.
Hmm.
Packers and Lions would have been the favorite teams, unless we forget the Minnesota Vikings themselves, who won a bunch of ball games last year with Sam Darnold. So
Yeah.
it's a really
Well, the
interesting
Vikings
game.
are 4-6.
Yeah, and I mean they'll fancy themselves a playoff team, but their record would say otherwise. So something has to give there in that division for sure. So
Yeah.
Jackson, what do you make of this? We'll start this first game here, 1 o'clock on Thanksgiving. The Packers traveling to Detroit. First off, Detroit Lions, Thanksgiving football. It's kind of what we come to expect, right?
Right. So you have both teams that are 6-3 and 6-4. You're talking about you're talking about what I would call a must-see TV and
It's Midwest
two
football.
heavyweights going at it and really is going to be a divisional um hated disliked teams that dislike each other on a national holiday in the Lions Thanksgiving Day game, and what no better way. And if you look at the this rematch from the last teams for the last time those teams met in Week 1 in Lambeau, where where pretty much the Packers controlled most of the line of scrimmage and they made most of the plays in all large part because of Michael Parsons living up in the big moments in big games, and that was part of the reason why the Packers won that game in that matchup in Week 1. So heading into this game, I think the Packers played the Lions a couple years ago in this annual game at this various stadium of Ford Field, and the Packers actually gave the Lions a lot more problems, and the Lions just pretty much were outplayed, and they just and they just got beat, and they outplayed themselves, and they just and Jared Goff and those Lions just couldn't make the plays at the big moments. Between when you look at those matchups between the Packers and the Lions overall, and I think that tells you with how I may say Brown and Andrew Hudson, who have been by far the difference makers from those teams, and the Lions last week were coming off a tough loss on the road last week in a tough hostile environment crowd in Philadelphia against the Eagles. And the reason why the Lions lost last week is because Dan Campbell just getting too greedy, and it cost him because Dan Campbell just just decided to keep getting aggressive, and just really gutsy on his fourth down calls of going for it, and that really cost him the game. And he should have kicked the field goal to get the points, but 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 really the Lions, well, if you watch the highlights of the Lions game last week against Philadelphia, the Lions scored a touchdown and they were about to tie the game up, except one of the players got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, meaning that one of the players celebrated too much, and he jumped and he jumped on the field goal pad like a koala bear, and that was
Good analogy.
that was one of the things why Detroit really cost them the game, and they were if they were going and kind of win that game, which they didn't, which really were so close to stealing and coming out with a win that game last week, which really cost them, and who knows who knows where they would be for the standings overall in the NFC. But that was a very costly loss by the Lions last week in Philadelphia, where you were going up against a Philadelphia Eagles pass rush, and Jalen Hurts did in that game the Eagles offensively, and Jalen Hurts on the offense just looked like they got quiet most of the game, except in the fourth quarter when they really got things going, and that was really the difference in that game last week. But looking ahead to the Lions this week, I think I think the Lions will win the game, but I think the Packers have won the last previous meetings in those matchups that take place in Ford Field. So I think the Packers will win this game. But overall, I think, but I could be wrong. But like I said, back in 2023, the Packers just have pretty much won the last few meetings in those games. So I think the Packers will. I think the Packers will win again, and in large part because of Micah Parsons is going to sack Jared Goff and Jeremiah Gibbs and Amon St. Brown and Hudson and Campbell. Those guys are on the offensive lines a little bit shaky, and I think, and with Ben Johnson, to your point about Blake about not being the offensive coordinator, and with offensive coaching staff changes for Dan Campbell.
Campbell's taken over the play calling now.
Yes,
isn't
he is.
As recently,
he started this. Yeah, he started the play calling in their game
didn't go well
last Monday. It did not, and I think that, and then I think for this game, I think the Packers are going to keep this winning streak going against the Lions.
Yeah, I mean that game on Sunday night you mentioned, Jackson, against the Eagles, a bit of a defensive slugfest. Like you said, Dan Campbell likes to take risk as an offensive mind, as an offensive play caller. And that game certainly was indicative of that. And he's taken over the play calling duties. Ben Johnson now in Chicago in the same division. So it'll be interesting to see how this Lions team goes forward. Um, I think they played pretty good football up to this point, but in those games against tougher opponents, they've seemed to have struggled a little bit. They'll come up against the Vikings again and the Bears again last 2 weeks of the season. They got a game against the Rams and Steelers to look forward to as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how that team comes together and whether or not this is a trend or something that is more indicative of a changing of the guard with Ben Johnson leaving Detroit. But I tend so Mike, you picked who was your pick for this game?
I'm gonna go with the Lions.
So Mike's on Lions, Jackson's on Packers. I'm going Lions as well, actually. I'm tempted to pick Packers, but I think ultimately the home field advantage on Thanksgiving Day. And I think that ultimately the Lions are a good football team. They're not a perfect football team. We saw that against Philadelphia, but I think I'm going Lions here. B.L. Lamberger, what are your 2 cents in this one, man?
Dan Campbell can't get out of his own way, and he he can't see the play. The problem with Dan Campbell calling the plays, he can't see the play placard because his chest is too big. He's too strong, so he can't actually see the plays he's trying to call as fast as he needs to. And the Panthers beat the Packers, and ever since then, they've been like a hornet's nest, and they're not happy with it. Packers got a great quarterback in Jordan Love. Dan Campbell, be a great coach, give the play calling up, and you'll do great things. Until then, Packers win. Jackson, call me crazy,
Well, you're not
Mister
wrong.
Mister Koala Bear.
Well, you're not wrong, Blake, and I'm with you there because if you look at if you look at their last few meetings, the Packers um do owe the Lions in those last few meetings that take place in Detroit. So I think you're on to something BL Lamberger.
Sounds like we're split here on Good Guy Sports for that first game. So it should be a very entertaining 1 o'clock Thanksgiving day game, maybe just before you dig into your turkey. I don't know what the usual Thanksgiving eating time is. Mike, what time do you do you usually dig into your Thanksgiving feast? Surely after 1
Yeah.
p.m., no?
No, well, we usually sit down at the table about 1 o'clock.
You're kidding.
Yeah, we're early eaters. Well, we have uh different generations coming and
Right.
and all. So
So you gotta
uh,
have that game on in the corner of your eye.
yeah,
Packers
well,
Lions, don't you?
I can always have the TV on.
Oh, there you go. That's Thanksgiving for you, huh? Making food in the kitchen while watching the game on the TV. It's a classic for sure, isn't it?
Yeah.
Let's jump to the next game, which I think is a pretty entertaining one, Jackson. The Chiefs traveling to Dallas for a Thanksgiving Day game, 4:30 on CBS, your typical Thanksgiving slot here. And you have to say, Jack, the Chiefs are not looking like what they used to be. They're currently sitting at 5-5. They're third in the AFC West behind those Broncos and Chargers, aren't they?
Yeah.
Um, Coming off of two straight losses at the Bills, at the Broncos.
And Broncos beat them twice this year.
Broncos have the edge. Um, is that right? Or no, they actually they play them at the on Christmas, actually, the
Yeah,
Broncos.
yeah.
I think
Okay. I thought they okay.
I
You're
think
right.
their losses are against the Chargers, Eagles, that close game against the Jags, and then Bills and Broncos the last 2 weeks. So not looking like your vintage Chiefs, is it? If they're going to have to certainly, right as it stands right now, they're out of the playoff picture. So they're going to have to pick up steam here. Not to mention they have a tough contest against the absolute fireball Indianapolis Colts this weekend before Thanksgiving. So it doesn't get any easier for these Chiefs, Jackson. I mean, what do you make? 500 ball club here? I mean, are you getting a little bit worried about this Chiefs dynasty falling apart, man?
Yeah, I think I am, but I am a little bullish on them. Including all the many people who are saying, yeah, they're the Chiefs, they can bounce back after a loss. But I'm here to tell you that for the first time in a long time that the Chiefs are that I'm about to that I am about to, to say to say this. The Chiefs are no longer in first place, and
It's factual.
yes, it
But are the
is.
Chiefs for real? Are they
They are.
playoff? Are they playoff contenders, or are they still playoff contenders, or are
Or are they
they
pretenders?
are they pretenders? There you go. That's what I'm looking for.
Okay, so they have the Colts this weekend. So I'm going to say this. So if they don't beat the Colts this Sunday, then they are going to be pretenders. They're not going to. They are pretty much out of
Wow.
it. They're not going to make it. That's all I'm going to say. But
This is the winner
but
go home game
but
on Sunday, isn't it?
yes, this is what I call
For the Chiefs.
win and survive and win. This is basically a must win now for the Chiefs, or else their playoff chances are going to disappear and just go bye bye, and they're just going to go out the window, and they're just going to be out of the playoff picture, and they're going to be eliminated, going to be watching the playoffs at home in their living rooms.
Putting their
And
feet up on the couch.
exactly, and so that's the only way I see them being eliminated from playoff contention is a loss by the Colts. But if they win at home against the Colts and bounce back fashion, which I think they will, then I think they'll be at least in wild card position. So that's really how I look at it. And the reason why the Chiefs lost that game last
Tell me.
Sunday is because they went up against a Broncos pass rush defense, and that was really the difference in the game last week. Like anytime you're going up against a pass rush defense, that's pretty much the advantage um that Mahomes is not favored against is that pass rush defense. We've seen this in the Super Bowl against the Eagles. We have seen this in the Super Bowl with the Buccaneers a few years ago, and that
Get to the
was
quarterback.
yes, exactly, and that's part of the reason why the Chiefs just lost that game last week is with with the Broncos pass rush defense, and Bo Nix was pretty much showing no quit, and he just kept drives and plays alive and set up the game winning field goal, and that was really different in that game last week, and the only big play that the Chiefs had late in the game was Travis Kelce. That was really about it, and but other than that, it was the defense of the pass rush for the Broncos that really set things up and was the difference in that game, and that was really and that was part of why the Broncos were the better team that game, and they were just and they made more plays than the Chiefs did, and that was how it all was said and done last Sunday. But that was the only but that was the only thing that Patrick Mahomes was not favored against was going up against the pass rush defense, and that was that was really the difference maker of why the Chiefs lost the game last Sunday. And before I move on, Blake, I do want to. I know that the Cowboys. I know that the Chiefs are going to be going to the when we be playing in the annual Salvation Army Tradition Cowboys game at AT&T Stadium. But
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah, exactly. But I do want to send our thoughts and prayers to Marshawn Kneeland, who tragically passed away in a tragic car auto accident from a police incident. To his family, we send our thoughts and prayers to him and the family who have to his victims and his families for those who have loved him. Where Marshawn Kneeland was really a football who loved the game of football in both college and in the high school level, and his family and he in a police pursuit that was a cause of the tragic accident. But Neyland was really by far one of the best is one of the best players in high school and in college that the family he was raised by, and that was who took his life sadly last week, and that was part of the reason what I wanted to share to our audience. But I will tell you, it will be very emotional, and it will be one of the tough situations that the Cowboys have to deal with off the field for that. And I will tell you, it will be a very emotional day on Thanksgiving Day when the Cowboys and the Chiefs play their game at Jerry's World and out there in Arlington in Dallas, and that will
For
be
sure.
something to keep our eye on. And I surely hope that there'll be a lot of prayers and families that are out there, and I think that will be very very tough fluid situation. But I know that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys organization will be sharing the thoughts and prayers for those, especially on Thanksgiving Day. They will be doing a bunch of a moment. We'll be doing a prayer for the families and those who were unable and for the survival and can't be with us. And that will be. But yes, it will definitely be a very emotional game for sure.
For sure. For sure. For sure. Well said, Jackson. Well said. So who do you have as your prediction for the winner of this game, Jackson? Chiefs at Dallas, Thanksgiving Day. What are you thinking here, man?
So let's say I have the Chiefs winning this game. Say if they beat the Colts this Sunday and they win at Dallas, then I think
So you think two straight wins for the Chiefs here, back on track?
yes. I think the Chiefs are going to win two straights, and yes,
Talk of the Chiefs' demise
yes,
is greatly exaggerated. Is that what you're
exactly
saying?
yes. And
Okay.
now look, I don't think they're going to win. They're going to win the division, but I do think they'll be in
Wild card.
yes they'll be in wild card position for a spot in the
Well,
playoffs.
don't forget
Sure.
they got a big game against Houston the week after, who they themselves are one place ahead of them in the AFC. So it's a busy couple weeks for those
Right.
Chiefs,
So what the
isn't it?
Chiefs need? Yeah. So what? Yes. The Texans playing it tonight on Thursday Football against the Bills. So what the Chiefs need is they need Buffalo to beat the Texans on Thursday Night Football tonight, and that's my only scenario that I got in order for the Chiefs to survive is a Bills win, and that's what the Chiefs should be focusing on right now.
Mike, who you got?
All right. Well, the game tonight, CJ Stroud's going to be out. So I think the Bills will win tonight. But getting back to Thanksgiving Day. So hold on to your seats. So I'm a Commanders fan. The Cowboys win. They will win
What?
on Thanksgiving Day.
What?
They will be
What?
flying high because this coming Sunday, the Cowboys will upset the Eagles.
What?
What?
Wow.
You're predicting two straight victories for the Cowboys against
That's why I say hold on to your seats.
the two teams that were in the Super Bowl last year, the Eagles and the Chiefs. You think the Cowboys will win both these football games?
You've heard it first.
Wow. I expect nothing less
Wow.
from a good take artist like Mike Dewey Jackson. He likes a bold
No,
prediction, doesn't he?
he really does, and he is all in for it.
I like it. I love it, man. I
So,
mean, he's obviously going against his biases here against the Cowboys, so that's how you know he feels strongly about it. But
and
Yeah.
I
listen,
have
man,
not, yeah, and I have not seen this, and I have not seen Uncle Mike do this very often against his burgundy and gold team. So I had no idea he was going to do it, and yet he did. I was a bit surprised by that.
Well, Dak Prescott is on an 18 game home winning streak against his division.
that's a good stat.
So,
Oh, that's because he didn't play against the Eagles last year, did he? When they
well, no.
smoked him at home. But it's a good stat, though. It's a good stat.
Yeah, you know.
To be
And
fair,
the
they looked pretty impressive
Eagles
against the Raiders on Monday, didn't
Eagles
they? Yeah.
right tackle is out.
And to be fair, Mike, the Eagles aren't exactly the 0-1 Rams here, are they? They're struggling to move the
No.
ball, so
Well, the Rams and the Seahawks are the best two teams in the NFC. Everybody else is also Rams.
for being the number one seed in the AFC as it stands right now, they don't look like an unbeatable juggernaut, the Eagles, do they? So,
Mm-mm.
granted, the Cowboys have some ground to make up in that division if they want to make a
Well,
claim for it.
I don't think the Cowboys will make the playoffs.
But you
I'm
think
not going to go that way.
they're a scrappy team. They're a scrappy
They're
4-5 right now, aren't they?
Yeah, they're going to be happy in Jerry's world.
Okay, one for the Chiefs, one for the Cowboys. Bill Lamberg, what do you say for this game, man?
The Mike's right. The Bills win tonight, and I think he's on to something. I think the Cowboys, got a little pep in their step, and yeah, I mean, I think the Cowboys win. I think the Bills win tonight. I think the Cowboys win in a few nights.
Wow. Okay. Okay. The Thanksgiving Day vibes will carry the Cowboys, according to Mike and Blake. Gosh, I don't know what to do here, Jackson. If do I call the split or do I go for the boys? I
I don't
I'm
know.
sorry. I'm sorry, Jack, but I think I got to go with Mike and Beal Lineberger here, man. I'm kind of liking the look of the Cowboys right now. I think the Chiefs are just not the Chiefs that we're used to, and I think we have to accept that. And I think Mike's spot on. The Cowboys, not a playoff team, not a team that's gonna really make a dent in this year's postseason, but they're not a bad team either. They can put up points, like the CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Dak Prescott throwing the ball. I think they're going to move the ball pretty well against Kansas City with that home crowd going Thanksgiving. So sorry, Jack, but I gotta go with Big D on this one, man.
No, it's oh no, oh, it's okay. It's fine.
You don't hate me, do you?
Not at
Okay.
all.
All right.
I've got
You're probably gonna be right
I've
Jackson,
anyway,
got no,
so
I've got nothing against you.
Jackson, what if I would have told you before the season started that the Carolina Panthers have a better chance of making the playoffs than the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, I have news for you, Blake. Your
What if I
Panthers
would have told you
are a
that?
game behind the Buccaneers, so
Huh? And if
not
they
far,
I
lose this
say
week,
they're
then
not far
we
at all.
they're
win.
knocking on the door, and I think the Panthers and if they and you guys are playing the San
You
Francisco
would have called
49ers
me crazy.
on Monday night on Monday Night Football, and they're going to be against a former Carolina Panther, Christian McCaffrey, and if the 49 and the Carolina Panthers have any chance, to upset the 49ers, then I think Bryce Young has got to have a perfect game and a great game plan, and if he does all that, then I think the Panthers will have a shot in Santa Clara to upset the 49ers, but I doubt it's going to happen, but you never know.
Well, I mean, that division is going to come down to December. Buccaneers, Panthers playing twice in the space of 3 weeks. So that's certainly one that I think disappointing. The Falcons sitting at 3-7, their season's over. Michael Penix's season is over. Not a big surprise. The Falcons let their fans down again. It's a story as old as time, isn't it? Maybe
Certainly feels like it
similar to
for those fans down in the dirty south, the ATL.
similar to
You,
Mike's Commanders, apart from last year, kind of high expectations, low output.
yeah, exactly. Well, let me just put it this way, Uncle Mike. The Commanders did everything right with Marcus Mariota as their quarterback. The only errors that he made was a missed field goal, pick six, interception in overtime. That was the only few mistakes he made. But other than that, he was very solid and did great. But to your point on the Falcons, Blake, yeah, it's a mess down there in the ATL. They got to address something in the offseason, and Rocky
Man, what are
Morris
they
did
doing,
everything
man?
right. They are they are they are doing way too much. They're making too many mistakes, and Michael Penix is done for the year in a knee injury, and that's really tough to see
Well, you know what's
your fan
crazy, Jack,
base.
is that the Falcons traded away their first round pick next year to the Rams, and they are currently 3-7, and the Rams are 8-2. So the Rams will own the Falcons pick in the draft next year with the current record of 3-7 for the Falcons, and yet they're supposed to be the ones. So it's a bit of a mess there. But I digress. I digress. Let's jump to the last Thanksgiving Day game, which is an interesting one. The Bengals traveling to Baltimore. I would say a resurgent Baltimore and a staying afloat Cincinnati. Joe Burrow's status in this game is up in the air. I'm hearing that he's close to coming back. So if not this weekend against the Patriots at home, maybe you would expect him to be ready for that Thanksgiving Day game in Baltimore. Not an easy task, but the AFC North is certainly an interesting division to look at with the current form of the teams. Baltimore obviously got off to that rough start. Lamar Jackson getting injured. They have won four straight, though. They have Jets, Bengals, and then that game against the Steelers first week of December. That's a massive one in the AFC North. In contrast, the Steelers started off okay. They got kind of rocked by the Chargers. Aaron Rodgers now injured again in that game. They won against the Bengals, so some question marks there. But this game, I think, in Baltimore with a Cincinnati team that has flattered to deceive, it's got to be the Ravens here, right, Jack?
Oh, it has to be. Although if you look at their season from what Baltimore did as a team, well they lost in heartbreaking fashion in a close nail biter game to the Bills in their season op- in their season opener at the Bills. That was a heartbreaker. In which believe it or not, the Bills have owned the Ravens ever since. With those two losses that Lamar Jackson that in a game that they should have won and had back. And then after that they bounced back against the Browns and and then they had a heartbreaking loss to the Lions on Monday Night Football in Week 3. They lost to the Chiefs the score wasn't even close there. Lost to the Rams wasn't a high scoring game. Wins against the Bears and kind of a back and forth kind of roller coaster kind of game for the Ravens and they won against the Dolphins, won against the Vikings and Browns and and then you would expect they would beat the Jets this Sunday, which I think they will. I think we can all agree with that. And then
I agree.
Yeah, I know you do. And then the Bengals, which yes, we like you mentioned about Joe Burrow.
I
And
don't know
Trey,
what to make of these Bengals, man, to be
well,
honest.
I can tell you this.
I mean, one week Joe Flacco's
listening,
throwing 400 yards, the next week they can't move the ball.
having listened to Adam Schefter from ESPN reporting that he
Shefty.
could, yeah, Adam Schefter, that is, yes, that he was saying that he was a full practice participant
Okay.
this week, and he could be, and that's a maybe that he is projecting a potential return as a starter as the starter this Sunday against the Patriots, which is pretty much still up in the air, but it could happen, but you just don't know for sure.
Their defense
has
still
to be
stinks,
cleared
though.
by yeah, and don't forget you are without Jamar Chase because he was
Because he spit on somebody.
Yeah, yes,
You can't do that, can you?
No, you can't because he got suspended one game by spitting by Jalen Ramsey and the Steelers, which you cannot because look, we've seen this before with Jalen Carter spitting on a Cowboys player in the NFL opening kickoff game. It's happened before in the league. And for the second time this season, and it's got to stop. And the players got to
No more spitting.
the players got to be going to the players just got to act themselves and mature and don't be silly and just really get your act together and just don't do anything stupid and just really calm yourself down.
We got you. Yeah, yeah. Mike, I want to jump to Mike on this game. Cincinnati at Baltimore, Sunday night, Thanksgiving. I'm assuming you're going Ravens here?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I don't think it's going to be close.
This is going to be hammer the Ravens here.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page. Beal Limberger, you agree? Ravens Thursday night. I'm taking that as a yes. I think honestly the Ravens are a top ball club with Lamar back healthy. I think they're going to be the class of the AFC North for sure. So
yeah, I think I'm bullish on the Ravens. They're going to win the AFC North.
Agreed. I think they're going to be a dangerous team sneaking into the postseason given their record.
Yeah. Steelers will lose this weekend to the Bears.
I'm very down on the Steelers. I'm pro Ravens personally, Jack.
Yeah. Let me say this before I make my pick that yeah, I do think, but yes, I do think Jamar Chase will run from this dumb mistakes that he did, but I know he's made mistakes. Everybody does, but don't worry, he can learn from this and move on and just and make healthy better choices in life. I know he will. Now, for my game pick of
enough of the spitting.
Yes, exactly. Now, for the game pick for for the Thanksgiving night game on NBC. So between the Ravens and the Bengals, I have Lamar. I do have the Ravens winning this game as well. I think Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zach Flowers and Van Noy. I think Derrick Henry is going to rely on the ball the most, and he's going to have a lot of carries, most of the yards in this game. I think Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers and Lamar Jackson are going to get MVP, and they're going to get turkey legs, and they're going to and they're going to get during the post game interview, and I think that Kyler Noy and Zay Flowers and Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson are all going to get turkey legs in the post game interview, and they're going to chow down some late night turkey, and I think the Ravens are going to win the game, and they're going to finish off the night with some turkey legs, like it's always become an annual tradition for the winning team in the NFL by a winning team and player. And I think Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry and Zay Flowers will be those players, and the Ravens will win the game. And Lamar Jackson and Kyron Noy and Derrick Henry will be and Zay Flowers will be the ones eating the turkey legs.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think we're all on the same page in that matchup. I now want to jump to a little bit of college football chat before we get to our last topic, which just a tease. We're going to do a Thanksgiving food item draft at the end of the show here, so stay tuned for that. But real quickly, I want to jump to a little bit of college football matchups. Obviously, we're going to be off next week, so most of the big college football matchups to look forward to will be in this week 14, last week of the regular season before we jump to these conference championship games, playoff talk, et cetera, et cetera. So I think the big ones to really look forward to, surprisingly, Georgia versus Georgia Tech is actually an interesting game. Would have been more interesting if Georgia Tech didn't suffer that um, defeat against it was NC State, wasn't it? Yeah, that they ended up dropping that game that killed them in the rankings a little bit. Still a ranked team, still playing Georgia at home, so an interesting game nonetheless. Um, but in terms of the playoff rankings as it stands right now, you kind of have that core tier still remaining of Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M, Georgia. I think of the remaining games for those top tier teams, Georgia, we just mentioned traveling to Atlanta to take on the Rambling Wreck, a resurgent Georgia Tech team. It'll be a more competitive game than what they're used to in that matchup, won't it? And then Texas A&M, Jackson, traveling to Austin for a big game. That's the big one they look forward to, isn't it, in Texas every year? A&M will probably be in the playoffs regardless. Texas themselves, coming off of a loss against Georgia, are currently on the outside in. But do you think if Texas beats Texas A&M, they might solidify a playoff case, Jack? What do you think about that?
Right. So if Texas A&M beats Texas, then that would mean a automatic lock to punch your ticket for the SEC championship game and possibly a spot in the college football playoff. So that could mean so that could mean that could mean that with Texas A&M will probably get a spot will probably will probably get a spot in the college football playoffs, and that could mean Alabama possibly getting left out. And if Alabama were to lose the Iron Bowl to Auburn, then that could possibly mean they could be left out of the college football playoff.
Well, I think the real question here, Jack, is if Texas beats A&M, does that catapult them into the CFP? I think even if A&M loses to Texas, they are safe. Mike, you're shaking your head. You think Texas has to do more than that?
They have to do more than that because they still have three losses.
It's a lot of losses.
That's a lot of losses.
I mean,
You've
we
got,
know the national media likes these big brands, but even
well,
I mean, three
you
losses is
got,
tough to.
you got six teams in the SEC, and probably only five are going to make it.
Right. Something has
And
to
it
give
ain't
here,
going to
doesn't
be,
it?
and it's not going to be a team that has three losses. You got You got Oklahoma, you got Bama, you got Vanderbilt, all with 2 losses.
Right.
If
So you
they
think,
end up, if they all end up winning out the rest of the season,
mhm,
there's no way that Texas, even if they beat A&M with 3 losses, are going to catapult over another SEC team.
right.
The only way
So,
Texas comes in is they have to make it to the SEC championship game and win
mm,
the SEC championship game. That's the only way I see Texas in the playoffs.
so Oklahoma, the rest of their games is home against Missouri, home against LSU.
Right.
If they win those, they're in, and you would presume, uh, and then Vanderbilt obviously has Kentucky at
Kentucky,
home,
and
and
then
then
they travel to Tennessee.
right. So we're gonna know a lot more after these games, i.e., it almost feels like Texas and Vanderbilt are kind of competing for that last SC spot,
hmm
doesn't it? Obviously,
And and
Texas.
and and whoever is in that last spot is going to be nullified by one of the other conference, another conference school.
Exactly, yeah. So, um, it does ultimately come down to getting that last spot. Um, I think in terms of
Yeah.
the current teams, I'm
And it's
just
like
looking.
Notre Dame is another team that's got 2 losses, but they'll probably
What
end
are
up
they doing
making
there?
it. And I would argue that their their schedule hasn't been tough as some of the SEC schools that won't make it.
Yeah, I mean, finishing the season against Syracuse and Stanford is not exactly a murderer's row, is it, for the
No,
Fighting Irish? So,
no. I
but
mean
I
their
mean,
their
we know how this works,
toughest,
doesn't it?
yeah, I mean their toughest, their biggest victory this year has been against University of Southern California.
I mean, it's just classic big school bias, though, isn't it, Mike? I
hmm
mean, they want to see those gold helmets on the ESPN
Well,
in
yeah,
January, don't they?
they know they have Notre Dame in, they're going to get a big TV audience.
Yeah, and I think this kind of speaks to a wider point about the committee here, Jackson, and some of the decisions they have to make in terms of these CFP rankings, the CFP bracket, looking at who's a worthy team to be in there based on the record. I'm biased, and I think the likes of Vanderbilt, given the schedule they're playing, should be in over a team like Notre Dame, Texas Tech, you know. like a Miami or something like that. Obviously, the rules are the rules. The conference, the best ranked teams from other conferences have to make it. I get it. I get it. But I don't know, man. I just feel like it's the playoff devalues the regular season in so many ways, and then the teams they end up picking don't always end up being the best teams in the country. So I guess we'll have to wait and see how it pans out the next 2 weeks, right? But
Right.
something tells me, obviously, every year someone's going to be unhappy they're left out. It might be a Vanderbilt, it might be a Texas, it might be a, I
What
don't
about
know.
a BYU with one loss to a top 10 team could get left
Honestly, I
out?
think BYU is just, see, this is part of the reason, Blake, that I'm talking about the playoff that is, placing so much, importance. The Big 12 teams, i.e., a BYU, Texas Tech. BYU is screwed because they lost to Texas Tech. Texas Tech now are the rest of their season. They just have one game left against West Virginia. Maybe not
hmm
a given they'll win that game, but because the Big 12 is kind of an afterthought, we'll just throw out a flyer to whoever is the best ranked Big 12 team. So BYU season is kind of over. Same thing with the Utah. Whereas like a Notre Dame or like an Oregon or Oklahoma, they can suffer losses in their season and still make it in because they're in a tougher conference, which is fair enough. But um, it's a bit of a it's a bit of a puzzle the committee has to solve here, isn't it? But um, I guess we'll have to wait and see what wins and losses happen the next 2 weeks. Maybe it'll end up becoming an easier solution if some of these teams lose this week and next week, right? But
Let me ask you guys this. What happens if Michigan beats Ohio State and has two losses with a win over a number one ranked Ohio State?
That's a great question, Blake. So I'm glad you brought up the Michigan scenario if they beat Ohio State. So I'm going to say this. So the weather,
Michigan
so I'm
scenario,
checking the weather
trademarked.
forecast up in Ann Arbor, and it's going to be snowing 35 degrees. And yeah, so Ohio State it is used to cold weather, but the school up north is probably going to be probably a little bit more snowier and colder than it was in last year's game against Ohio State. So you you brought up a perfect example, Blake, because if you remember at this time last year, you had Ohio State and a unranked Michigan team that went into the shoe in Columbus, and they showed up and 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 their head coach Sharon Moore and those guys just showed up and they in the big moments and made big plays and Ohio State just wasn't playing their best game, and they cost some turnovers, and they weren't able to capitalize, and that was really the difference in, in the game last year. But this time around, yeah, I think Ohio State's probably going to snap. Yeah, you could see Ohio State snap a 4-game losing streak to your rivals against the school up north for the
Jackson.
Maize and Blues. And I'm telling you, Blake, I'll tell you what, Blake, I'm with you on your Michigan example on
Well,
Bryce Underwood because look, Bryce Underwood didn't play a perfect game against their game last week at Northwestern at Wiggly Field. So so um so yeah, and
with
yeah,
Jackson,
yeah, Blake.
I'll tell you what, the rivalry week is fantastic because I'm gonna give you guys another one.
It's
How
a
about
great slate.
9-1 Georgia Tech
Yeah,
against Georgia, number 4 Georgia in a few weeks? Another
big game.
incredible rivalry game. That rivalry week's gonna be unreal.
I mean, a
It
lot of these
always is.
matchups that were used to being kind of pushovers, i.e., like a
Mm-hmm.
Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt versus Tennessee. Both Vanderbilt,
Mm-hmm.
Tennessee is ranked. Both Tech and Georgia are ranked. So two examples of some really big matchups. Obviously, Ohio State, Michigan's always a big matchup. Um, I think Auburn, Alabama, not so much. Auburn's kind of. I mean, they're competitive, but I think that will be a
Hey,
easier,
Texas A&M. Come on, man. These are
massive one.
fantastic rivalry
Both on Black Friday as well. Georgia versus Georgia Tech, Texas A&M versus Texas. Some fantastic games there on Friday. So
games.
a really great slate in college football, to be fair. And I think with the playoff implications as well. I don't know. I'd be curious to get you guys' thoughts on the playoff system. Whether some people say that it places not enough emphasis on the regular season college football and that you can lose a game and doesn't end your season because like in a BCS system like if you lost a game like it's over, the top two teams make the championship versus a playoff, there's more to play for some teams in terms of like making their playoff case. So Mike, I don't know, do you think the playoff system improves this last week of college football, i.e., like kind of the teams trying to make their case to sneak in there, or do you think it makes the regular season not as exciting with this playoff format?
Well, I think it makes it more exciting. I'm not sure if it's necessarily fair how they determine the teams that ultimately make the playoffs, but it certainly makes it more exciting. I think ultimately they're probably going to need to expand it to 16 teams.
You think is that too much of an expansion, do you think? Or do you think the nature of the sport is that it's just growing in such a big competition, a big business that it needs to expand?
Yeah, I think it is a business, and you got all these major schools and keeping a football program, which helps pay for a lot of the other sports. But I think they would end up having to expand it, keeping it to 12 teams, you know, and the current format where uh, conference champions all, make it in,
That's my only gripe with the system.
and I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
But then it'll end up being, half the teams will end up being from the SEC.
Right. I think that's the only thing is they're caught in a bit of a bind here, Jack, where they're trying to placate the smaller conference teams, i.e., like an ACC, Big 12, whatever conference Tulane is, I have no idea. The Green Wave. Um,
Mm.
but I think, you know, ultimately, I think we'll get to a point where it's just like a Big 10, SEC rankings. I guess they'll have to include the Big 12 and ACC um, from that perspective eventually. But
Let me
Jack, what
ask
do
you
you?
this, Blake.
Yeah, go ahead.
As a Vandy guy, you may have touched on this already, but if Vandy wins out, they'll have 3 wins against top 25 teams.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, four. They'll have 4 wins against top 25 teams with a 10-2 record. There's no way they can leave them out, right?
Honestly, Blake, I wouldn't be as crazy as it sounds. I wouldn't be shocked if Vanderbilt wins the next 2 games and still finds themselves on the edge of the playoffs. I mean, it's just
Wow.
I
Wow.
hate to be the conspiracy like big team bias guy, but like the likes of Notre Dame, Texas, Alabama, Oklahoma, Oregon, they just have a bit of that. I feel like they have more of a buffer in terms of if they have the same record they get more of a nod from the committee. And obviously the head to head will play into it. So
Because
if
Vandy's 2 losses are to Alabama and Texas.
And both on the road.
exactly. I mean, in terms of making a case for them, if they win their next 2 games, I find it hard to believe they wouldn't make it. But at the same time, if other teams win out, like a Texas, um, I think it really will come down to the Texas A&M game. I think if A&M beats Texas and Vanderbilt wins out, I think Vanderbilt has a really good chance to make the playoffs, I think.
Yeah,
And
I think
I think if Oklahoma beats Missouri and LSU and they end up with the same record as Vanderbilt, I bet Oklahoma gets the nod.
wow.
so
I
you
think you're right, Mike. I think that's
so would it
amazing.
come
And
down to so you
that
think both Oklahoma and Vanderbilt can't make it in the system?
Um, yeah, I think so because I think you got
Because
Texas A&M,
Alabama, yeah, because
you got
Alabama's
Texas
there as
A&M, and you
well,
got Georgia, you got Ole Miss,
and Alabama.
and then you got Bama. You only got room for one more team. They're not going to put 6 teams from the SEC into the playoffs.
Right. Now, let me just follow up for what like Lumber said about
Come
the
on,
game between
Jackson. It
Michigan and
can't be
Ohio
true,
State.
can it?
Well,
You got to make
it
room for
depends
the
on
doors, right?
well,
koala
the
bears,
only
baby.
way I see Vanderbilt winning it is beating Tennessee at Tennessee this year in
Listen, all you
Knoxville.
can do is beat the opponent in front of you, right, Jack?
That's right. But if they do that, then I think they'll be in good shape. But if not, then they're going to be going to a bowl game instead. That's just how it's going to go for your Commodores. But anyway, real quick before I move on. So you're probably wondering about the game between Ohio State and Michigan and why they play not in the same state for the schools meeting each other, kind of similar to with Duke, Carolina, and the Paco Road. Well, it's different in college football because they play two separate states. You're probably wondering why that is. Well, because they have a thing called they have a thing called the Toledo War and a boundary, despite and led to a physical between the two states, which means going back to the 1800s. Sounds like between those two states, maybe in a quarter of a century. So that's really what this is. So about this game between Michigan and Ohio State. So I do think Ohio State's probably going to win this game. It's not the losing streak, but you just don't know what Michigan team is going to show up
It's a
because
rivalry game, man.
that's right. Bryce Underwood. That's why they call it any given Saturday for a reason. And I think that
Sure.
Depending on what Michigan's team is going to show up, whether it's a losing one or a winning one, but I do think Michigan will show up and make big plays, even when they're not favored like they were last year when they were unranked and in the biggest moments, and that's part of the reason why they signed Bryce Underwood to play in these games, and I think Sharon Moore, the head coach, just believes in this guy, and I think that for a great player like him, I think that he deserves his big plays in the biggest moments in this stage, and I think that Bryce Underwood, I say teams like USC and Michigan who can run the table if they win, and that could be one of the biggest one of the biggest things that we be watching for this college football season. And I do think that if and I do think that Michigan runs the table, and if they beat Ohio State, that would be like a statement win for the Wolverines. And if they were to come up with for this program, but if Ohio State wins, then I could
Oh,
see
it's
them.
gone.
Then I
Put a
could.
fork in them.
Well, yeah, but if the Buckeyes win of Ohio State, then I think what they'll do, much like what Michigan did last year, is plant the flag on the Michigan logo, and
You
and
keep
and
saying
we all
Poor
know, yeah, I
sportsmanship.
know, and we all know what happened last year, and it didn't go so
fights
well.
break out.
So yeah, that would be that, and there'll be a
Jackson,
lot of that happening. But yeah, that's really my point here. And Notre Dame and Stanford, I think Notre Dame will beat Stanford in that one, and Northwestern and Illinois, and
Yeah, Jack, I think we gotta get to
I
our
think
last topic
yeah,
here.
and I think Illinois, yeah. I know, Blake. I'm doing the best I can here, but I think Illinois will win this game, and Arkansas, Missouri. I've got Missouri win this game, and LSU, Oklahoma. Yeah, LSU's had so much drama on the field for their coaching search, especially with confirmed rumors. But I think Oklahoma will probably win this game, and Houston. I think Houston will win this game. Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh wins this game, but to your point about Georgia Tech and Georgia, ooh, that's going to be a great game. But let's say if Georgia loses to Georgia Tech, then that's going to possibly then that's probably then that's going to result in the college football committee to prevent chaos. So that's probably what it's going to come down to. And there's also going to be this debate between Notre Dame and Miami if A&M were to lose, and let's say if Alabama were to win, and then if and then let's say if Oregon loses, and maybe West Virginia beats Texas Tech, and that's probably what my scenarios are looking at
Okay.
is that if Alabama is a better resume than Notre Dame, then that's probably what I'm going to be looking at. And because Miami did beat Notre Dame every season, and that's probably going to be the huge debate for what the college football playoff committee is looking at. So, real quick here before we move on to our
We got
Thanksgiving
we
food
got
items
jump
aside,
Jack. We got jump Jack.
I know. I know. Let me finish, Blake. So, B.L. Lomberger, what happened to our South Carolina Gamecocks this Saturday? It was a collapse. They blew the lead, and I can tell you what happened in that game. I don't know if you saw B.L. Lomberger, but Nick Bolton, the track star from South Carolina, he had his Bo Jackson moment, and he ran all the way to tunnel, but then he was probably taking a bathroom break or just
Jackson,
make an
it was
adjustment.
such a
Or
bad loss. We can't even talk. We got to move on. We can't even
I
talk
can
about it
tell you
because it
something,
was
Blake.
such a bad
Let me tell you something,
loss.
Blake. Nick Bolton, I don't know if you saw that highlight. He went in the locker room and take a bathroom break and just and grab a drink of water and got cool in there.
Yep.
Because it was probably hot out there in College Station and A&M. But walking out, he accidentally got bumped into a state trooper.
Right.
I don't know if you saw that, Blake. But what do you make of that? But what are your thoughts on that and reaction to it?
Jackson, I can't even, I was having a great day. I played golf today. I put the driver up, shot a 90 with a 9 on the last hole, all irons. I was having a great day until you brought up that South Carolina football game. I can't even talk about it. It gets my nerves going. We got to move on to the next topic. Terrible
Yeah,
loss.
please.
Before we go, last topic for today, Thanksgiving plate draft. So what I want from everybody is to give their top 3 draft picks of Thanksgiving Day food items. I will start and give you an idea about what we're talking about here. With my number 1 pick, Thanksgiving food draft, I'm going to go with it might be a controversial one, but I'm going to go with mac and cheese. Not everybody might even have this in their Thanksgiving Day, but I think a good baked mac and cheese side dish is a really great addition to any Thanksgiving plate. So that's my first pick. My second pick is going to be green bean casserole. I think it's a great side dish. It's an absolute must have. And then for my last pick, I'm going to go with mashed potatoes, but only if there's gravy on top of it. I think with that combination, it's a must have.
Blake, brown or white gravy?
Brown for sure.
Yeah, good call.
Easy answer for me. Mike, what do you got, man?
Well,
Top 3.
you can't have mashed potatoes naked. You got to have gravy with them. So
Of course.
So I'm going to go with stuffing
Okay.
and gravy on that.
Of course.
You would not.
It's a must.
It's a must. And I'm going to go with sweet potatoes with cranberries.
Nice pick.
And then I have to go with my homemade apple pie.
Of course.
Oh no, he took the apple pie from me. You put ice cream on that, Mike? You put some vanilla ice cream on that?
We have salted maple ice cream
Wow.
Lovely.
that
Lovely.
we put on that.
That sounds great.
Second choice would be a piece of cheddar cheese
Ooh. Wait,
Ooh.
on top of what?
on top of the apple pie.
You're
Wow.
kidding. You're
No,
kidding.
no,
Like, I've
try it.
never in my
Sounds tasty.
41 years of young life heard of anybody putting cheddar cheese on apple pie. Are you
It's
joking?
no. Uh-uh.
Have to try it
That's
sometime.
like people putting salt on watermelon. I've never
Yeah.
heard of that.
BL, what's your top three picks, man? What do you got?
Oh, I'm gonna get you guys going with this. Literally, my number one pick, my Josh Allen pick is deviled eggs.
Really?
I'm a sucker for some deviled eggs.
Wow.
We're gonna instead of turkey, we're gonna bring in a honey baked ham.
Okay.
Get there early. The line will be very long. We're gonna bring a honey baked ham in, and then we're gonna do a green bean casserole.
Nice. Okay. Okay. That's a solid top three. Solid top three. Jackson, what do you got, man? Finish with you.
Well, I've got a lot of options for you, but
Give me three.
but I could give you at least
Top three.
three. So for me, I'm gonna go with mashed potatoes with
Gravy.
with white gravy. Yep,
White gravy or brown gravy?
white gravy.
Okay.
I'm a white gravy guy, so
Okay.
I'm
I'm
gonna
not sure we ever
go
had that
with
before, but I'll take your word for it.
And then I'm gonna go with
So
and then I'm gonna go with macaroni and cheese because
Nice.
that's part of your family side tradition when it comes to like family meals. You can't just live without it. That's why I like it. I love it, and because it has flavor and just love it for a reason. And then I'm going to go with stuffing because it's something that I always enjoy because it has a great taste in my mouth and I really enjoy it, and that's really something that I really enjoy. And then
No,
something to
no, no.
enjoy.
That's three. That's three. You said three. You got to stop there. You got to
Yes.
stop there.
Yeah, I just did. So yeah.
All right. Notice how none of us said turkey either, by the way. So
Well,
Thanksgiving turkey overrated? Question
even
mark?
the man
No.
wearing the turkey hat
Well,
didn't
well,
have
there's
turkey.
there's actually three types of turkeys. You have regular,
Okay.
Cajun, and fried for those people
Right.
who live in the South.
But
They
I
they,
think-
they tend in the Mason. If you're in the Mason-Dixon line, they have
Yeah.
something called a fried turkey. But if you're in Northern, like Dutch Turducken, like my dad's family would always say, because I remember a long time ago we would go to Grammy and Baba's and visit the Riverton Country Club, and we all have a family Thanksgiving gathering together where we all have they would bring out a traditional Thanksgiving turkey because those people up north, what I would call people, a bunch of those people called Yankees up there because it's considered northeast.
You're just
those
waffling.
people,
We
and
gotta
those
go,
people
man.
actually have
What are
a
you talking
traditional
about?
turkey.
We're gonna have to
They
cut
a
that
traditional
out,
turkey.
Jack.
All
And
right.
people in the South
Yes.
have Cajun and fried turkey.
Sometimes.
That's just how it is.
Hey, to be
That's just
fair,
how it
the
is.
Mason-Dixon line is actually between Maryland. Let me get
It-
this right, Mike. It's
It's
between
Maryland and
Maryland,
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. It's a lot higher than people think it is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But my point is, if you're in New Jersey, you are past the Dixon line, and people
Yeah.
up north like regular turkey.
Okay.
Especially,
I take it. I got you, man. I got you.
especially, yeah, especially if you're in Riverton Country Club with
Right.
the family gathering.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And in the South, mac and cheese is a vegetable.
There you go. It's on everybody's plate. It's a necessity for sure.
That's
For sure.
good.
Well, it sounds like we got some good Thanksgiving plates here on Good Guy Sports. Some
Well-
we forgot the desserts too.
Jackson, at a
what?
Thanksgiving dinner in South Africa, the only vegetable is chicken. So we're not doing terrible over here.
fair
They
enough.
eat meat, and more meat, and the only vegetable they eat is chicken over there.
Well, there you go. There you go.
Well, there's a thing called a roasted chicken from your grocery store, so you
There
can
you
have
go.
that.
That's
Different
right.
Thanksgiving traditions for everyone.
But
So
as
I think
we're
we're out of time. We're out of time, Jack.
I know, but it would be very quick. I'm sorry. I'm sorry you had to keep.
Give me all right.
I'm sorry you
Jackson,
had to keep it short, but I'll be very
thing,
quick.
Last thing on the show, give me your one Thanksgiving dessert, and then we're wrapping up, man.
Oh, there's
good.
so many options.
I just need one. Give me one.
There's so many options.
Give me one.
I know.
I'm asking for one.
I know. I know. There's only so many options. I could not go wrong with any of them.
So what's your number one then?
So my
I'm
number
asking for
one, I want to go with one that's not on the list that I can as a. This might sound crazy, but I'm gonna say pumpkin pie cheesecake, and you
That's
add
a
a
great
little
pick. Great
whipped
pick.
cream on it or vanilla ice cream. It just
Great
tastes so
pick.
good, and that's something you can't go wrong with. And I think it just has a great flavor and delicious to it in your sweet tube, and a great taste in your mouth. And I just think it's cold. You take it out of the fridge, and it's very refreshing. It'll melt in your mouth very quickly, and I just think it's just one of those things that give you a sweet tooth, and it just melts in your mouth, and it's just that good and delicious. And that's one of the reasons why I I enjoy that pie for
Fair
dessert
enough.
is why I
Yep.
chose pumpkin cheesecake
For sure.
for me.
Mike's crying about his apple pie, but
No, I'll have Aunt Lori save you a piece. She always makes pumpkin
there
pie
you go.
cheesecake.
There you go.
If you can only pass it through, if you only did the magic of TV like most TV shows do, they see of passing it over on a Zoom screen, which I wish you can do, but that's not how it works. But I wish it could happen because it sounds so good, and I wish I could have a snitch of some.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I think we got some nice plates set out here. I think we got a good Thanksgiving to look forward to. So, want to say on behalf of Good Guy Sports, myself, Blake Gerke, Jackson, Mike Roby, and Beal Lumber, want to wish all of our listeners and viewers a very happy Thanksgiving. We back after the holidays. Enjoy the football, enjoy the food, enjoy the family, and have a great Thanksgiving on behalf of Good Guy Sports. Thanks, everyone.
All right,
Thank
see you guys.
you.
Go
Happy
Bills.
Happy
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving,
Happy
everybody!
Thanksgiving, guys.
Bye bye.
Happy Thanksgiving.